Okay, we're back. Starting. Sorry about that. Part
Oh,
two.
Emperor, what costly signal have we put out into the market?
Uh, okay, so so what we were talking about is people are uncomfortable with the idea that they are cooperating with everybody else and there's no ultimate leader. But that's what the free market is, and that is also what Bitcoin needs to be. And this is an idea that I think people in Bitcoin have really failed to grasp. That I didn't understand, that they didn't grasp it, so I never told them. So that's kind of something that that I could have said differently earlier.
But see, that's the thing is that for you and for me, these things are premises. They're just matter of facts. They're just premises to what we already know. So when we talk about things, we don't we don't take into account that these foundational like theories of anarchy are new to some people, and so it's you know it's just you assume that people would know this because they're in crypto, but they necessarily don't know these things, right? It's like
Yeah. So wait, let me quick give you an example, because one of the things that I figured out, much too late is, um, you know, when I first got into Bitcoin, people were saying things like, you need to spend your Bitcoin to encourage adoption. And I said that that was stupid because Bitcoin is more valuable than most of the things that you would want to spend it on. So you shouldn't just let people uh, tell you that you need to spend it,
yeah,
right?
and you know
Wait,
what's
wait. But let me finish. But see, what I didn't say is that it is also important for people to be profit seekers.
exactly.
So people need to be trying to get your Bitcoins. Oh my God, I just can't believe this is it's so stupid, but they got the idea that spending is just bad. No, what's bad is spending when you don't have a reason to. But
Yeah,
people need to be working hard to give you reasons to spend. But
exactly.
what happened with the core cult is they ultimately made it impossible to be a profit seeker in Bitcoin. And when I would say something about this, people would be like, but you told us that spending is bad.
Yeah, yeah. So the funny thing is that this is an example of a premise that you just you thought that people kind of like agreed with you because in your talk to Bitcoin investors that I wrote an article about, you just gloss it over as a matter of fact. Everything that you just say, that's just a premise to your argument,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah,
don't realize.
that's how it's always been, is I just don't know what other people don't know. And then things that I say, I mean, I don't think that it's entirely my fault that Bitcoin maximalism happened, but like it is it I do wish that I had known what to say differently. You know what I mean? It just seems like people would take things that I said and interpret them in an an incredibly stupid way, just absolutely retarded. And and I would be thinking, well, I sure didn't mean for you to do that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I think this is the beginning of a series that we're going to be having, which is kind of going back to the basics, right?
Yeah,
So the interesting thing about all this is that what gives an anarchist an advantage in crypto, see, this was amazing, is that us crypto anarchists have the advantage in the space over everyone else. And why is that? Because we are fundamentally completely comfortable with the idea of human beings being completely free. Like we don't fear a radical free market. Spontaneous order is what we desire to live by, right?
yeah.
Everyone. scared of that idea. But for us, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so Bitcoin turned into a place where there were set leaders, and those were the core devs, at least in people's minds. The core devs were the leaders, and there's no process for getting rid of them other than making a new software, new version of the software, and convincing miners to run it. And before, the miners were not well organized enough to take charge of this process.
Yes.
And hence, because people were trusting in these idiotic leaders, and they so the lots of horrible things were allowed to happen to Bitcoin
Yeah.
that that nobody who understood was able to prevent.
Yep. And the funny thing is that when this was happening, crypto anarchists just like we trust the market so much that we look when the Bitcoin Foundation came out and we saw. I mean, well, back then we were all neighbors in Austin, and Cody Wilson started trolling them. Remember, he's like,
Yeah.
I will run for the Bitcoin Foundation, and I am going to absolve the Bitcoin Foundation upon being elected. Right?
Yeah.
So we were so careless. We trust the free market so much that we were just like, we already won. Like Bitcoin's anti-fragile. We don't even need to talk about this. But what happened was that all these new actors came in, and they just completely they just came in with these weird ideas, man. And what happened was that it happened right around the time when neo-reaction and the alt-right started propping up, right? And then you have the cult of Mircea Popescu, which you talked about the other day. That the remnants of that, really taking a hold on people. And before you know it, you have this like idea of a feudalistic Hoppian, very Hoppian, like Hans Hermann Hoppe was a big influence in that mindset of private property is more important than the market. So for anyone listening to this, I highly advise you to pick up the book, The New Libertarian Manifesto by Konkin III, Samuel Edward Konkin III, is he's the father of what we call agorism. And so he takes Austrian economics and libertarian thought to the next level, which he says it's not just theoretical, but it's also an action, right?
Yeah.
And when you act as an investor, as an agorist, you're not just acting for the sake of investing and investment, but you're also investing as a form of activism, right? That is agorism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what's funny, man, is that people think that by doing that, you're moving away from profit. And the argument that they would tell you is, oh, you're dumb. What the hell are you going to do as a poor libertarian? No, you're wrong. What matters is that the market has a signal back to the investor. If the investor invests correctly, the market will reward the investor, right? So,
well, investment is about predicting the future correctly. So you get rewarded if you have the correct investment, but yeah, ultimately the market is a vast system of cooperation, and yet and Bitcoin doesn't work in any way other than that. The market is the only way that Bitcoin works, as far as like politics and leadership goes.
That's why someone like Chris Wright can just say, hey, you can have this attitude about like, I am here and I'm going to take you down, because it's not really that he's saying like, oh, I'm such an asshole. What he's really saying, he's showing his confidence and understanding of the market.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I understand the market so well that I'm confident enough to be antagonistic, because I know that the way I signal to the market will be the most profitable, not just for me, but for everyone.
No, I completely agree. And yeah, and for so long in Bitcoin, what's been going on has been anti-profit seeking. It's been anti-capitalist,
Yeah.
and it's been very difficult just to try to set up a profitable system on top of Bitcoin.
Yes.
First, because of the block size stuff, and then we have this stuff going on in Bitcoin Cash, where they're just screwing around with the protocol. And one thing that that shocked me is how it is apparently necessary to have this hash war just to convince people that it's bad to screw around with the protocol.
Yeah.
But it's really no different than how legislatures will make laws that have economic consequences that they don't understand, and then they're impossible to get rid of later. And there isn't sufficient feedback to these people to teach them how their actions are affecting everybody else.
Exactly.
And fundamentally, the developers have never seen their job as enabling human cooperation, because every time they change the protocol, they are disenabling human cooperation. And people are angry at they're angry at Craig Wright for just saying to stop screwing with the protocol, which to me is like, that's like almost the most basic thing. Like, how is that necessary? And yeah, like, what is rational when you have a bunch of people in Bitcoin who are behaving antagonistically to what is clearly in clearly necessary for Bitcoin's health. What you can do if you're a miner is to make things worse more quickly, right? Because you can make the other miners less profitable if you go against them, right?
What
If you
people should fear the most is that they stand in the way of the market, right?
yeah
That their own desires stand in the way of the market. Now, this is not to say that you could not, that no one can be a good predictor of the market. I think the people that can predict the market the best are those that are most comfortable with with the idea of market anarchy. Those that understand Austrian economics the best.
Okay, well, okay, I don't think that that's true, but I do think that you you have an edge if you understand economics. But I actually think the best market predictors are just people with real experience, who kind of are intuitive about it, you know.
Yeah, well, that's more of an agorist answer. So yeah, I would agree with that. So it's not just theoretical, but people that have experience as investors and that people that know the market. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a step further from theory to action. Yeah, that's an agorist. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so why don't we talk about what spontaneous order is, since we mentioned it, and we haven't said what it is yet. But basically, that's what happens under the capitalist system of cooperation, in which people are acting independently to add value, but their actions are they are harmonious with one another, because of the profit seeking, because people need to seek profits. uh, they uh, they can find ways to link their activities together. See, if there's a chain of production, that is a chain of profit going from one person to another as a good is produced. But different people can make different pieces of the process as we go along, and but as they come together, the result is something much bigger that no individual person designed, but which produces the goods we want more efficiently than if there was a central planner attempting to construct the economy.
Exactly. So here, let me say it in my own words. So spontaneous orders, it views that, it comes from a philosophy that views human beings and society, human beings in general, as an organic entity that changes at every moment with new data coming into the system, right? Someone dies, someone inherits something, right? So that is the opposite of the Keynesian model, which sees the economy as a machine in need of a mechanic, right? A central planner to grease the gears. So that's kind of like so I think that symbolism helps people understand what spontaneous order is, right?
The Keynesian system is a system that needs constant tweaking. That incorporates everybody. Everybody is incorporated into the Keynesian system, and there is a government planner who changes whatever, changes the interest rate. I don't even want to go into how it's supposed to work, but whereas in the market everybody is building little pieces, right? Nobody ever builds the whole thing. Everybody's building pieces, but the profit-seeking behavior ensures that these pieces are going to fit together.
Exactly. So in the Keynesian model, humanity in general is looked like a machine in need of a mechanic, a central planner. So the most important individual in that economy, in that view of the economy as a machine, is the central planner. Now, in the Austrian spontaneous order model, humanity is an organism, and the most important individual in the economy is not the central planner, but the individual entrepreneur, right? So this is where the philosophy of Bitcoin, this is where Bitcoin, the idea of a node is, right? Who is the most powerful node? The individual entrepreneur, right? Every node, okay.
Wait. Now we're talking about nodes. So you're talking about a network of people, right? So a node is not a Bitcoin mining node. A node is just a person in what you're talking about, okay?
So I'm moving to the market as virtue.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about that right now.
Okay. Well, anyway, sorry to interrupt with that. So
okay, here, let me just build on what I was saying, right? What I was saying is the following, right? So throughout like scholastic philosophy, there's always been there's always been an argument between, and this has to do with the origins of economics, right? There's always been an argument between, well, Aristotle wrote the Nicomachean Ethics, and then he has a jump to his politics, right? And the Nicomachean Ethics has to do with virtue as a means to happiness, right?
Yeah.
So how the hell does it jump from there to the politics? There's something missing. So many scholars throughout the ages have always asked themselves, like, okay, well, maybe there was something in between, right? The Dominican school in Salamanca, Spain, they took Aristotle's text, right? And they started philosophizing and trying to figure out what this middle thing is. And they realized that that virtue in the market is voluntary exchange. What allows us to flourish in the market is voluntary exchange, the ability to exchange freely with other people in the market. This is the origin of economics, and later on, the Austrian School of Economics dubbed this as praxeology, right? Austrian comes from the easternmost edge of the Spanish Empire, so that's why Austria, is the easternmost edge of the Spanish Empire. That's what Austrian means, literally.
Right.
But so voluntary exchange is nothing more, nothing less than P2P exchange, person to person, right? So we see how like Bitcoin mirrors human nature, right? Because praxeology as a science is descriptive of humanity as is. It's not normative. It's descriptive, right? That's what economics is. It's descriptive, right? So the way that humanity flourishes best is when we all bring value and we share value with one another in the market, in what we call the agora, right? In the Greek, market is agora. So that's where the word agorist comes. That's where, and that is the virtue, that is the value of voluntary exchange, right? Voluntary exchange allows you to choose what is best in the market and allows everyone to participate in the market. When you create a moat in the market and you keep people away from participating in the market, you are not giving investors all of the possible options out there in the world. And logically that's a criticism for why creating a second layer is bad. But we can talk about that further some other time.
Yeah, well, okay, well, I don't have anything more to add on that, but we'll continue to have conversations about the basics, hopefully, and I'll see you around. And it was really good to talk to you.
We're not worthy. All right, take care, great emperor. Peace.
Okay, you too. Bye.